Good morning, and with a beautiful sunrise behind me, I want to talk about why Italian coffee is shit. So, things are changing. There are new coffee owners that wants to change things in Italy. There are Italians that, like me, they emigrated. They started working coffee in London, Australia, New Zealand, maybe in Sweden, maybe in Japan, and they had the chance to try something different, something nicer, something tastier. And they came back and they're trying to bring something new. Uh, Quality coffee made with care and passion, trying to change this old tradition of not giving a shit about coffee, not giving a shit about how making it, and in many cases not giving a shit about the job either. So before talking about some of those new businesses that are bringing new life to coffee, I would like to tell you one of my stories. And this is it's a bit spiritual, a bit related to coffee. It is related to coffee, but anyway, so it started 9 years ago when I moved to London, and I was working in this coffee shop in Fulham called the Shot Espresso. With me there was two guys. One was Francesco, and the other guy, I won't say the name. So similar age, from Tuscany, different lives. So one was there to learn about coffee, really passionate. He was third in in Italian latte art competitions, and really passionate about coffee. And I remember, asking him where he used to work in Tuscany, and he tells me that, yeah, I was working in a bar, So, I assumed that the usual shitty Italian cafes. And so we worked together for almost a year. Then Francesco found a job in a coffee shop in Portobello Road. This one was like, now sadly it's closed, but at the time was seriously about coffee. It was one of the best. I mean, just to let you know, like, the manager was a Spanish brewing champion, and I think a UK brewing champion as well, or finalist. Now back to Spain, and he started the Spanish SCAA, Specialty Coffee Association. Then I think there was the assist manager who was Polish brewing champion, something, but third in UK as well for brewing championships. And then there was Francesco, that, as you know, he was third in the Italian latte art competitions. So it was a coffee shop that was literally extremely serious about coffee. So and I went to visit him once, and yes, I mean, I won't deny the coffee was delicious. It's now closed. I don't know why, what happened, but I lost in touch with Francesco. The other guy disappeared. He had drugs problems, and I think he had some money to he owed some money to someone and ran away to Ibiza. I think the worst place if you have a drug addictions. But it was interesting to spend some time with those two guys because the same age, coming from the same region, but two different lives, and how their lives took completely a different path. It's fascinating how you are in the same place, but the choices you make, it takes you to completely different destinations, because one run away from London to Ibiza to avoid probably the worst, to be killed probably, or something else. And the other one then actually became someone that actually is very important for the Italian coffee culture, the new Italian coffee culture. And why? So years later I left London, moved to Bangkok, where I was supposed to open a coffee shop, pizzeria, with a good Thai friend and my brother. It didn't happen. So my brother couldn't make it, and we postponed the project. And so I moved to Edinburgh, where I was keen to step up and learn more about coffee and improve, even obviously in case of the opportunity, the chance to open this coffee shop in Bangkok. So I was really serious about improving myself, learning more, understand more about coffee, its flavors. So I knew that I needed to work for a company that was very serious about coffee. So I applied only for cafe that were roastery as well. And I was lucky enough to get a job for Machine Espresso, great company where I learned so much. It was a wonderful experience, and where I keep, trying to improve about, coffee in all, its aspects, from making it, brewing, and the flavors. So I tried to improve my understanding about filters. So at the time I got an Aeropress, that's still my favorite morning brewing, and a day, searching for new technique and recipes about Aeropress, I basically bumped on this article where I think it was like four barista champions from their own country were giving advice to, on how brewing with Aeropress. So there was different people, and then the last was from Francesco, Italian barista champion. So it was Francesco Masciullo, and I kind of like this. I know this name. This name sounds familiar. Where I heard this name, because you know, it, you know, I knew this person, but it was like I couldn't like understand or like where I met him. So I started to Google it and to try, and put his names to see if some pictures of him would come out. It did, and it was Francesco. the Italian guy, the young Italian guy that I met in London. So I was start to read, and Francesco Danilo, or Francesco Sanapo, owner and founder of Ditta Artigianale, that is one of the most important specialty coffee shop in Italy and the one that probably started all. So I was like, what the fuck? So he's like, because I remember when he told me, oh yeah, I work in this cafe, like, you know, like kind of like dodgy Italian, usual, you know, the typical Italian dodgy cafe. So actually, he was working at the time already for Ditta Artigianale. So I dropped him a message on messengers on Facebook, and you know, I told him, it's like, oh wow, you know, congratulations, I've been reading about you, and yeah, explained me why he was in London. You know, he came to understand more about specialty coffee, about innovations, and to bring back to the Artigianale new ideas. Well, I guess it worked because the Artigianale now got 3 shops in Florence, training school that it's run by Francesco, and I mean, I, I started to see around UK Ditta Artigianale as a gas roast. So definitely they did a massive improvement. And I mean, Francesco, I think I have been in the last 5 years since like last time I met him. I think it was 4 time or 5 time Italian barista champion, and 1 time was latte art champion. So definitely the experience in London and helped him. Obviously, I mean, all the rewards, you know, he attained in championship and tournament, that's obviously didn't come just from this experience. You know, he improved himself, learned more, and worked very hard. So what about the other Italian guy? No idea. No idea. Might be in jail right now. Who knows? Really happy to know where he is, and I honestly, I would love to know that he changed his life and then now is someone different. So I really, really hope. So Francesco and the Ditta Artigianale, it's one of those new coffee shops that they are trying to bring a change. So we have now more and more and more. We got Orso in Turin, Faro in Rome, I think Orso Nero in Milan, Estratto in Brescia, in Bologna. We got another specialty coffee shop, more in Milan, more in Rome. I mean, even in my town. Oh, we have one in Ascoli. It's a town near my hometown, and we used to have one specialty coffee shop in my town as well. The guy used to live in Ireland, and but sadly, with the bloody joke that we call COVID, they had to shut down. They were the only really specialty coffee shop in my town. But I'm sure it's another one. It will come around. So things are changing, are absolutely changing. I mean, it will take a while because this tradition to make a bad espresso in Italy it's really heavy, and it's been around for so long that it will require some time before it will change. I mean, we are used to drink an espresso for 110 and believing that it's cheap. So that's what makes, like, the idea to pay 160 for or 170 for something better, something crazy. I mean, we've been drinking, it's 110 for a single shot, and if you think about it, it's not even that cheap, because if you have a double shot, this is at least the prices in my town. If you have a double shot, it's £2.20. Sorry, €2.20. In London, an average double espresso is €2.40, so it's not that much different. But we believe that it's cheap. I mean, we are Italians. We believe whatever they tell us, and we believe it. We just accept whatever they tell us. I mean, they've been giving us for years and years and years a low quality Robusta Arabica blended together, roasted dark like hell, that we've been drinking with fucking like 3, 4, 5 sugars, believing to be drinking the best coffee in the world. I mean, since when I started to get really interested in coffee, I observe how they make coffee, how they make coffee in Italy. We still have the old manual grinder, the one, remember, pop, 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 pop. And so no idea how many grams. It can be 10 grams, 5 grams, 4 grams, who knows. Temping, leave it, they just press it, like, it's not even press it, it's just like, you just put it there, it's a bit flat, and fuck off. Press the button. If it takes too long, they stop it manually. If it stops too quick, if it stops too early, they just press again, so it gets a bit longer. And fair enough. I mean, customer don't give a shit. They get their espresso, they put 7 sugars, they drink it, they wake up, they talk some bullshit about politics and football, and they go. So why investing? I mean, from a coffee shop point of view, why investing when your customers don't care? Obviously, you can make them care if you educate them, and that's why now we're having these new coffee shops, that understood this, and they are trying to educate Italians about how to drink quality coffee. Or try to educate them. They try to educate Italians on not using sugars, on tasting it, and this payback, this paying back. I mean, like more and more Italians, they're starting to understand like what means drinking something good. It's been the same in everywhere. I mean, in London, when I started to work a shot, in front of us there was bloody Caffè Nero, and people, they would come to try our coffee, and then they would not go back to Caffè Nero, because it's like, this is good, this is actually good. That's the reason why in Fulham we used to have, I think, like, there was 2 Caffè Nero or 3 Starbucks, I think, 1 Costa. We only have now 1 Caffè Nero, 1 Starbucks. Sadly, we now have a George the Juice. That is another stupid coffee chain. But this is just recent. But the majority of the chain that was in Fulham, they shut down, because people, once you make people understand, try a better quality coffee, they won't go back to the shitty coffee they used to drink. So in Italy, it will happen inevitably. It's just that will take some more time because there is this strong tradition about drinking espresso in the way we do. And Italians, we've been, brainwashed since little to really be proud of our traditions. But what tradition means, tradition change. Nothing is ours. We don't own the fucking traditions. We don't own nothing. We don't own our life. So, but because we have been made to believe and to be proud about a product that comes from the land that we were born, so it will take some more time to eradicate away this, culture of drinking shit coffee. So, I mean, this, I don't know, like, if it's correct. This, I read it a while ago about how we ended up drinking such a bad quality coffee in Italy. The article was talking about the time of Mussolini when he wanted to create symbols that people around the world would identify with Italy, and espresso was one of them. And the journalists that wrote the article say that when Mussolini created this law that said that everyone had to be able to afford an espresso, this is a law that's still in, we still have it. And so because the price was too cheap, because it was for everybody to be able to afford the coffee, the coffee shop started to buy like a cheaper and cheaper beans that basically made then the roaster to roast very dark, and obviously the consequent bitterness of the coffee to make the Italians starting to use sugars for being able to enjoy the coffee. So that led to the point we are now, where we've been drinking coffee for years with sugars and believing that it was the right way and it was good. And this has actually brings me about something that happened yesterday. So I went to visit my auntie, and I wanted to bring some coffee that she brewed on mocha pot. So I stopped to the local wholesaler that sadly sell mainly capsule, because now in Italy everybody's changing from brewing coffee with mocha pot to the more convenient capsule, because that's what the Italians are. We are a bunch of lazy people, and we always go for the quickest way to do things. And because obviously we don't give a shit about coffee, so why even wasting our time to brew coffee with a mocha pot? We have a capsule now, so everybody has a capsule. My mama has a capsule. I grew up waking up in the morning on Sunday with the smell of the mocha pot. Now we have a fucking capsule that smells nothing. It makes shit coffee. Anyway, so I was waiting, she was grinding this coffee for me, because obviously my handy doesn't have a grinder, and she asked me if I wanted to have a coffee, and so I said yes. So she asked me for sugar, and I said, no, look, I don't put sugar in coffee. Which is the point. The roaster roasts the coffee to enhance the flavors, and then I put sugars. And then she was like, oh yeah, but coffee without sugars is not a coffee. Obviously, it's not her fault. That's how she grew up. But you understand, I mean, she's a coffee wholesaler that herself has no clue about coffee, and that believes that, you know, in the coffee you put sugars, it's not coffee. And you know what is the funny things? So the coffee was a dark roast. Sorry, yeah, it was a dark roast from a roastery called Caffè Pompeii, from Pompeii in Campania, and it was good. You know, and actually it was good. It was chocolatey, it was nutty, it was creamy, it had the body, so it was actually good. I would never know if I would put sugars. So it will change. Obviously, a lot of Italians live overseas, or they lived overseas and came back, so they understand more about coffee. They understand more about the differences, but about coffee. So obviously now we have, the chance, we have the opportunity, to have a change in the coffee industry, and it will happen. Inevitably, it will happen. Is that it will take a long time. I mean, maybe I sound a bit pessimistic, but I think before a real big change, we are talking about probably 15 years. Because it's gonna be, it's gonna be hard, because we made to believe, we create espresso, true, like, can't deny that. We created the first coffee machine, we created the first espresso. They keep telling us that. So, but doesn't mean that we are great coffee makers, because we didn't evolve. We just reached the point and we never evolved. So, just like those, I remember now, Gardelli was roasting champion, world roasting champion, is Italian. So you can see there is a change, and it's growing. It will just take some time. So in the meantime, I have no choice in my hometown than just bloody bring back coffee. There is no one bloody single coffee shop that makes a bloody good coffee. So I just need to wait for some good person to open again a specialty coffee shop, and then happily I will be able to have some nice cup of joe in my hometown. We'll see. As you know, in Italy, everything always takes longer than in any other bloody country. If in another country a change happened after 5 years, in Italy it takes 10. If something happened after 50, in Italy after 20, 25. We are like this. That's how we've been happily brainwashed by our society. So, finger crossed, and see you in London.